Greetings, greetings, family. We are live. Sister Shanice here alongside my panel members. Thank you for patience. We had some internet challenges in the background, but certainly hope that you haven't gone else. Issues regarding timing, but are now live, and if we drop out panel, just keep it rolling. Okay, we're just waiting for some of our viewers to join us. Thank you so much. Apologies for delay as you join us. So it's going to be another really deeply interesting and insightful discussion tonight. So much has been going on the African continent, and yeah, we're going to be in at some of the issues that we feel needs to be brought to the attention of our family. And so just by way of opening up, join us today, I'm just going to welcome my guests today. As you can see, we've got three guests in the house. We've got Dr. Abu, one of our resident panel members. Those of you who are meeting Dr. Abu for the first time, he's actually residing in the UKKK. He is a community activist, volunteer youth worker, community counsellor, dub poet, artist. He does art in mirror designs. He's a presenter on the Big G Galaxy Affiliate, and also one of the Galaxy Management members. Welcome, Dr. Abu. How are you?
Vodum family, Vodum Queen Naja, and Brother Rasul, you know. And to you, Sister Shanice, we just give thanks for life. And that's where we journey on this conversation.
Give thanks to Dr. Abu. As always, a privilege and an honor to have you on board. And what is that I can see hanging up in the background there, Dr. Abu?
Is Vodum t-shirts, you know?
Hey.
You know, we have more you know, a few Vodum, more Vodum power, and I just we are push you know.
So, Dr. Abu, if I was interested in getting hold of one of those t-shirts, or if members in the chat wanted one of the t-shirts, how would they get hold of it?
Well, they can contact me and our brother Delani at ADE Printers and Photography, you know, and the information will be on my Facebook.
Okay, and what's your Facebook, Dr. Abu?
Abu Jatata.
Abu Ratata. Yes, as with a J. Jatata. Okay.
Yeah.
There you have it, family. Go to Dr. Abu's Facebook page, Dr. Abu Jatata.
Or you can go to Facebook on the Vodum Production, and you see a whole lot of works.
Wonderful. Hey, he has very promptly responded to the call for some Vodum t-shirts. Rise up yourself, Dr. Abu. So family, do go and check that out. And as you can see, we also have Queen Naja in the house, who is joining us all the way from Kenya. And she is a producer and host of the Maitu podcast show, which focuses on the science of womb healing using African ancestral methods for the modern African womb man, both on the continent and in the diaspora. She's a writer, an avid environmentalist, permaculturalist, and is extremely vocal on social issues regarding the continent of Africa. Hence why we have her on our show this evening. Welcome, Queen Naja. How are you?
I am so fine, and I'm very honored to be on this show, Sister Shanice. I follow you and Dr. Abu Ratata, and it's my pleasure and honor to be on the panel this time around. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Queen. It's a privilege and an honor to have you here as well. Absolutely, our privilege. And we look forward to the contributions that you're going to be making to our discussion this evening. And we would also like to welcome our brother Rasul Cinnamon. And for those of you who are regular viewers of the Sister Shanice show, you will know that our brother Rasul is from South Africa, born in KwaZulu-Natal. He's participated in the freedom struggle, and he's been doing so from a very early age. He's a maker, author, poet, political thinker, activist, entrepreneur, founder of the anti-treason movement, ex-chairperson of the Palestine Support Committee, where he was the chairperson for 7 years, provincial organizer of the social movement in Daba, and also a Take yourself off mute, Brother Rasul. And as we greet you, welcome, Brother Rasul, to the Sister Shanice show.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here, to meet the family again, the family of panel members, the family of viewers, and there are always exciting people on the show. And I'm hoping that the education will continue deeper and broader, so that we connect at a very, very fundamental level, and we can turn all our discussions into activism. Thank you for having me.
Honor, Brother Rasul. My internet's dropping in and out, so my apologies if it's impacting on you, but hopefully you heard every word that Brother Rasul was saying just there. Have been joined by our guest Brenda as well. Welcome, Sister Brenda. Sister is a social entrepreneur, journalist, and political activist of Uganda. Welcome on board.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. And it's an honor to have you on board. We know that you have been a guest on our panel previously, so not a new face to the Sister Shanice show, but as always, you know, absolutely delighted to hear all of what you have to say and what your contribution is going to be to the discussion this evening. So again, I just apologize to everyone who might have tuned in at the top of the hour. We did have some changes for some odd reason. The link changed, and so the link that I'd sent to my guests was different from the link that happened. And then on top of all of that, my WhatsApp on my laptop just would not send the messages with the new links. So as my sister Queen Najar said to me backstage, it just means we are on track. Hey, just means that this hot debate, you know, yes, this is a hot debate that's going to happen, and obviously the powers that be would rather that we were not having this conversation. Even our sister Brenda is experiencing some internet challenges right now, so let's give her a moment or two to come back. And as we do that, let me go over to the chat and just welcome and greet everyone in the chat. You, our wonderful, wonderful audience. Thank you so much. Please drop us a message. Let us know where you're viewing us from. Where in the world are you, our wonderful audience? Where are you viewing us from? I can see we've got Marcia Hewitt in the house, and she's saying, hi all, the message is stating that we'll be starting at 9 p.m. Yeah, you know what? It says 8 p.m. GMT when I do the settings, but for some unknown reason, it translates into 9 p.m. GMT time. So I don't know what's going on there, but it looks as though I'll have to try. I need to say 7 p.m. here. So apologies for that. So we're probably going to get a lot of people coming on at the top of the hour at 9 p.m. And, you know, they would have missed a lot of the discussion. Also want to welcome Sister Afrijamo. Right, Sister. Always, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you in our audience. She's saying, greetings, Sister Shanice, Dr. Abu Rasul, my African brothers and sisters worldwide. She is watching us from Ghana. You lucky woman. Yay. just up the road from me, actually, on the west. Sister Afro Jammer, always a pleasure to have you in the house. Family, Sister Verna Duncan's in the house. Is from the phenomenal Black Women Platform. Okay, I'm getting some feedback. Please put your device on mute. Thank you so much. But D. Francis in the house saying, true sisters, earthquake, lightning, and thunder. Oh, where that one? Oh, yes, sir. We represent earthquake, lightning, and thunder. Please elaborate, D. Francis. So, Rise Up Marcia Hewitt, and yeah, saying, YT message was wrong. Wonder why. Really? YT. YouTube message was wrong. Gremlins in the house indeed. And Surfer saying, Voodoo. And thanks again to the panel. Voodoo, back at you, my brother Surfer. Welcome. Brother Surfer is actually my IT technician on our Summit of Solutions website. And he has been working diligently for about a year now, putting together our Summit of Solutions website. So if you haven't already checked it out, please, please do. It's www.summitofsolutions.com. Summitofsolutions.com. And what you will also find on that Summit Solutions website is a vaccines monitoring form. Now, we know that a lot of our people are not in their right minds. And so as a result, I'm saying they're not in their right mind, they've gone and taken the vaccine. Despite, you know, the good advice by the independent researchers, pharmaceutists, virologists, and the scientists and all the other experts, the pressure from the media has actually persuaded a lot of our people to go and have the vaccine. And if you know anyone who has taken the vaccine, or if you have taken the vaccine, please go onto our database, www.summitofsolutions.com, and fill the form in. We want to monitor to find out what the impact of the vaccine is on our community. Okay, so wherever you are in the world, if you've gone and taken that experimental vaccine, please do fill in our forms so that we can monitor your health. Okay, we want to know the impact on our community. Rising up, Brother Kiani, rising up, Nader, rising up, Brother Lloyd, rising you all pop up. Okay, I can see we've got 61 in the chat so far. I'm hoping we've got 61 likes, because we are ready to hit the road, okay? I was just giving people an opportunity to come back in because, you know, we had a technical problem, so people, our audience may well have logged on and then logged off again. So while I'm waiting for people to log on, also just to remind you that, you know, these discussions that we have are on YouTube, so you can go back and view them in full, you can share them, and we really encourage you to do so. Last Wednesday, we had our brother Leaderman Daka, and he provided for us a context within which we should be seeing the world. Absolutely invaluable, because, you know, we are often given a vision of life from a Eurocentric perspective. But what our brother Leader Bandaka did, he put our history and our present situation within our context. And if we're all singing from the same hymn book, we will be in a position where we can move forward in leaps and bounds. Okay, so family, let's hit the road. Let's get the show on the road. I see we've got DJ Jamaican Jankra in the house. What a dear DJ Jamaican Jankra channel. That one's so interesting. Have to look that one up as well. So welcome on board, family. Really a pleasure and an honor to have you. Okay, so we're going to go into our topic for discussion today because, you know, I want to rise up my sis, and, you know, she'll identify herself when she's ready, who has sent me an invaluable list. This is a list, family, that has the names of 170, let's bring back our sister to the stream, Welcome, Black Mices. We've got a list here of 170 presidents, ex-presidents, ambassadors, you know, key ministers and high-ranking officials, a list of 170 of them, all Africans from various countries in Africa, from Algeria right down to Zimbabwe, all of whom have died within the last year. Within the last year, and about 90% of them on this list have supposedly died from COVID, and the other 10% or so have died supposedly of a heart attack. Now, this is just such a bizarre situation, because when you look to see where COVID is rampant, it's actually rampant in countries like America and Europe, not Africa, but yet we have 170 high-ranking officials in Africa who have supposedly dropped out because of COVID. We're going to go around the panel and we're going to use starting point, and then we're going to go into some really deep analysis. Let me start off with Dr. Abu, as is to my right. Dr. Abu, what do you make of this picture that I've just presented?
Well, you're lucky you have that number, because I think the number is higher. You understand? Because sometimes we just look at those that at the front, but we have to look at those that doesn't even have a voice. That's him to really shout out. You understand? And this is, you said, Sister Shanice, we are in a horror movie. You understand? We are in a terrible horror movie, but we're afraid to deny it. We're afraid to accept it. We just live in a denial because we rather watch the horror than agree that we are in the movie. You understand? You know, when you listen to what you're saying, that is a horror. Horror. You understand? If you were out of this world looking in, you would said, wow, what a horror these Africans are going through. You understand? So that's how I look on it. You understand? And if we can't look on it in that way, then we are blind to our own consciousness. Good.
We hear you on that, Dr. Abu. We're living a horror movie. It certainly feels that way. I mean, and this horror movie that we're in, you know, has been going on for 2,000 years, at least 2,000 years, 1,400 years of Arab enslavement, 500 years of European enslavement. You know, the horrors that we have gone through as a people continues until today. Queen Najah, you know, all credit to you, my sis. What was your view and perception of this awful scenario where we've over... Can everyone put their... Yeah, thank you, sis. 170 high-ranking African officials who have dropped out, supposedly of either COVID or a heart attack. And I don't think we've lost a single high-ranking president or prime minister or minister in the West due to COVID. What's your analysis of the situation, please, Queen Najah?
Greetings, everybody. Am I still live, or have we frozen?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so when we first started putting the list together, my question was exactly that. It didn't make sense because the numbers were ridiculous, especially regarding the amount of deaths that we have on the continent from COVID, and compare that to the percentage of deaths that we have internationally, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Okay, have I lost you or is it my internet?
I don't know what's going on.
Okay,
I think
I'm
I've
not
lost
hearing.
everything.
Yeah, okay, I'm hearing you now. I did lose you for a short while, but you're back with us.
Okay, so what my question was more of, it looks to me like it's a game of replacement. And removing and changing chess pieces. And I say this with a lot of caution. We, as Africans, cannot just say, oh, this is happening to us.
Okay, you've dropped out again, my end, sis. Are you hearing Dr. Abu? Okay. No, are you hearing our sis?
No, she freeze.
Okay, our sister's frozen. Okay, when Queen Najee comes back, we will bring her back in again. My apologies for that, but as you can tell, we are having internet challenges tonight, but we're not going to let that stop us discussing this really important issue. Brother Rasul, let me bring you in here, my brother. The deaths toll just keeps rising. You know, we've just lost another African president, the president of Chad. Last month in March, we lost our president, Magufuli, you know, and there are so many others. There's a list here of 170 high-ranking officials that we've lost within the last year. What is your analysis of the situation, my brother? What on earth do you think could be going on?
I think the first thing that needs to happen is we need to understand that we are at war. Mm-hmm. Africa was never at peace. There's no time in our history where we could say Africa was at peace and everybody lived in peace, including our political leaders, our social leaders, our economic leaders. We have always been at war and we've always been assassinated in one way or another. Now, on the French and Belgium nexus alone, there are about 22 or 24 people who were murdered, systematically murdered through assassinations or regime change or manipulation by the Western imperial forces. And we've got to acknowledge that. What we're seeing now is just another form of warfare. We must not at any point in time think that we're at peace simply because no one is wielding a gun. The weapons of war have changed. The weapon of war now is a virus. The weapon of war is now nanotechnology. It's no more a gun. A gun is becoming redundant. A gun is becoming obsolete. A gun is becoming a useless tool that they dump on Africans. Whilst they use other tools, they use tools like viruses, they use tools like nanotechnology. Now they go straight into our bloodstream. They don't shoot you, they put a nanotechnological piece in you that will kill you. And that is the new war. I recall about 20 years ago, I read a book or a series of booklets, and they asked, what was the future of war? And the future of war tells us that war is going to change. And as it is, we're witnessing war changing. Now, when we say assassination, for example, we talk about the killing of one person. But now assassination has come to mean something else. It's the killing of nations. And we are dying by the nations. And we unfortunately do not seem to have the answer to this. We do not have the forward thinking to deal with this. Our leaders who are part of the replacement methodology are leaders who will lead us into darkness rather than leading us into the light, because it serves other interests for us to be in the darkness as opposed to be in the light. Because the day we come into the light is the day we will raise this continent. In the meanwhile, they keep us in the dark, and they keep us in the dark through a neo-colonial program that if they don't kill our leaders, they hire underlings from within our own people to kill our leaders. And this can be seen in the Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba context, the Chris Hanis, and so on and so forth. So we are being manipulated, we're being bamboozled, as Malcolm X would say, and we're turning on our own people, and we are becoming the fifth column for the imperialist forces. As you can see, what happened in Lebanon, for example, or what happened in Libya, it's the same thing. What happens in places like Rwanda, it's the same story. Someone picks on us, someone picks the leaders, someone puts the people against each other, and they go and kill each other. The day we stop killing each other is the day Africa will rise, and we have to work towards that. We have to silence the guns. We have to get Africans to be thinking. We have to get Africans to rethink how they think, because we are still at war. That's my view.
Thank you so much for that view, Brother Rasul. What a powerful opening that was to this discussion. A reminder that we are still at war. And not only, you know, are we at war with our obvious enemies, but we're even at war, you know, amongst ourselves. And as our brother said, the day we stop killing each other, the day that, you know, we are no longer used, you know, as weapons to kill our own people, is the day Africa is going to start rising. Wow, wow, wow. Sister Brenda, I'm going to bring you in here. What is clear is that we, as Africans, have suffered history of assassinations, and not only are our leaders being and our top officials being assassinated, but also our nations and also the weapons that are being used to assassinate us today is different from in the past. And our brothers mentioned, you know, nanotechnology, and of course, you know, vaccines. It could be argued it's used as a weapon of mass destruction as well. Biological weapon, COVID-19 has been mentioned over and over again as the cause of death of so many of these leaders. Sister Brenda, in your opinion, what's going on?
Peace, my sister, and everyone on the panel, and everyone in the chat. I greet you with peace and love. So our topic today is talking about the leaders who have died in the last year, a very unbelievable number of them, and topmost leaders. You know, when something like this happens, you ask yourself, if there's been a time in history when such a thing happened. I'm only going to note that I am actually glad that our people are asking the right questions. When we start using our brains and asking the right questions, we are a step closer to finding the solutions to all the problems we are having. So there is one thing that the system has always used to keep us blind, to keep the people blind, and that is every time people speak up against any ills in the society, they are labeled as conspiracy theorists. So this happens all the time. When people start asking the right questions, you will see people, other people are attacking them, saying, you people are conspiracy theorists. But the time is ripe that we also realize that most of the theories they've called conspiracies have actually proven to be true with time. And the example I give is the previous one, where I said that 34 years after Thomas Sankara was killed, the conspiracy theory that they were talking about for 34 years comes true, and they say, finally, we know who killed, and we've proven it. The president. So all these great questions we are asking about what's happening to our leaders, they hold a lot of water, they hold a lot of truth, and they should guide us to finding the right solutions to all the problems we are having in Africa. I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brenda, for those opening remarks. If everyone can put the phone on mute, please, so we're getting some feedback. Queen Maja, welcome back. We had experienced some problems there with your link. It's good that you're back. I'm going to share the screen and invite you to talk to the list. I want everyone to see this list that you've pulled together. Let me make sure that I can get the right screen that I'm going to share. So, are you able to see this list, family? Let me know in the chat if you're able to see this list. Not sure if I've shared it correctly. Try and find myself here. No, you're not looking at the list. Right. Yes, it looks as though you should be able to see the list now. Let me just scroll through. This is a list of dead presidents and other high-profile leaders in Africa. And it's probably not an exhaustive list, as Dr. Abu was saying. Sister Queen Najir, thank you for your work on this. It's phenomenal. I wonder if you could talk to it now, sis, while we've got you online.
So when we were putting this list together, my key question was, why it looks like these people are being removed and other people are being put back in. So it's like a replacement. I'm sorry I missed the conversation in this brief time while my internet went. So I don't know what the response was to that. However, one of the responses that I kept receiving upon sharing this list was that they are being replaced by something which is called WEF. Comments.
Are you there, my sis Najir, Queen Najir?
Yes, I'm there. What I wanted is for the panel to discuss about the fact that our leaders are being replaced by the World Economic Forum, and that this is an ongoing plan. This is an ongoing plan which has already been kickstarted by the pandemic. So they're using the pandemic as an excuse. As you can see, when you go down the list, you find that all these presidents are passing away because of the pandemic, which is it's just not possible. One of the reasons why I say it's not possible is this. We know our presidents in Africa. We know they have the most advanced health systems in place for their care. They have the best doctors. They have the most money. They can be flown anywhere for medical treatment. Do I lie or not? And yet, you can see this list. They are
It's
dying.
true.
They're dropping dead like flies. How? This, if it was me, I would understand. If it was you, I would understand. If it was the common person, I would understand, because we do not have the facility, we don't have the money, we don't have the backup to take care of ourselves the way our presidents can. But our presidents have access to the best medicine, they have access to oxygen, they have access to everything. So why are they dying like this? There's a reason. And what I was told is that they are being replaced by WEF. WEF, we know, is World Economic Forum. So what is it? Who are they? Is the question. Who are they? Do we know who they are? We have not been paying attention as Africans. We've been blindsided. Let me put it that way. We've been blindsided because we have been looking the other way instead of looking at what is happening in the world. Yes, we have trauma as Africans. Yes, we have a lot of history which we should be looking at, but we have not been looking at what is going on in the world. So what is WEF? WEF is the World Economic Forum, and they want to start what? They want to kickstart what is called one currency, one religion, one world economy. And they are kickstarting it in Africa. And they've been saying this for a long time. And they said it when they released the movie. Guess which movie they released? Sister Shanice, guess which movie they released?
Yeah.
Black Panther.
I don't know. Shall I put it to our panel members to guess? Or
Yeah. I really think that we have to look at the
viewers, would you like to guess what movie it was that was released?
Black
We
Panther.
hear you on that, my sis. Okay, have we lost you there, my sis?
I think we've lost Brenda.
Okay, let me go over to. Yes, as soon as she comes back, I will add her back again. Okay, my sis, did you want another panel member and then come back? Oh, Black Panther, people are saying in the chat.
Yeah.
Is that the right answer?
We have.
But with the Great Reset.
Yes. Yes, exactly, Dr. Abu. This is part of the reset. Yes, it is part of the reset. It's part of the reset. And we have two clues that we can look at. We can look at the current members of WEF within Africa. And this is within Africa, because this concerns Africa now. So let's focus on Africa. So we can look at the current members of WEF. But before we even go there, we ask ourselves, what is WEF? WEF is a non-governmental organization. Non-governmental organization. and yet it has key members of our African governments within it. And this is contradictory, because how can our presidents be members of a non-governmental organization? These questions were put to task when Davos, it's called Davos, when Davos used to meet. Every time there was a meeting, and these were actually the Europeans who were talking about this. You know, we Africans were not involved. We're like, why are they making so much noise? We shouldn't even, you know, that's their problem. It's not our problem. But well, now it's become our problem. So they had asked questions about Davos, and they've always been asking questions. And they have been those who, there have been those who have even raised their concerns in public. Activists who have said no, please watch out for this world agenda. And everyone, well, I don't want to say everyone. There's been this talk that, listen, those who are against Davos and those who are against WEF are what is called conspiracy theorists. So every time activists talk about it, they're shut down. Now, one thing I know is this: if they shut you down, you're onto something. If they shut you down, you're onto something. So who are WEF? WEF is a German. He's a German man and his wife, and they created this NGO, and they have membership. And if you look at the price of membership in the WEF, and I'll ask everybody to do this for themselves. I'm not going to tell you. I want everybody to go. If you're listening, go key it in Google, okay? And look at number one, who are WEF? Number two, what is their plan? Okay. Number three, how much do our presidents pay to attend these meetings? And who in your country, in your particular country, okay? Because we are many here. We come from South Africa, we come from Uganda, we come from Kenya, okay? So go and find out who in your country represents and is a member of this WEF, and find out what the details are. I'm not going to do that work. I've already done half of the work for you, okay? And then think hard about the world reset. And what we're talking about here is they're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, which is going to take place in Africa. Not in Europe, not in America, not in Asia, in Africa. And they are going to do whatever is necessary to make that reset happen in Africa.
Ashe. Give thanks for that, my queen. Brother Russell, you want to elaborate on what she's saying?
I think, thank you, sister, for your presentation. I think to bring you up to speed, we were saying that Africa has always been at war, and the new weapon is COVID-19. The assassinations have been happening for a long time, because if you, for example, look at the violent assassinations, if France alone, France in complicit with Belgium, has murdered over 22 presidents since 1963. So we're still at war, and the weapons of war have changed. When we look at history, we must go back and think of how we look at history, because if you listen to the African narrative is very shallow in a sense. It's not political, and it's not a planning paradigm. Rather, it's a paradigm of let's develop our culture. You know, that seems to be the paramount or the apex of our concerns or priorities. Yet the priority should be, let's develop a strategy to counter the imperialist strategy. If you go back to 1945, there was an entity called Bretton Woods. The Bretton Woods was where white capital got together and it decided to bring about a plan on how to engineer society through economics. And it created what is called a consumer society. The consumer society made us stop thinking but become consumers, and therefore what we do is buy new shoes, we buy new TVs, we buy new cars, but we don't have plans to produce. We don't have plans to industrialize. We don't have plans, for example, that will bring Africa up to the position where we have our plan to counter the European plan, and that plan is as aggressive as their plan. They come into Africa, they kill whoever they want, when they want, and we all keep quiet because we are too busy shopping, or the presidents that we have are too busy buying cars with the money that they stole from the people, and in fact they're banking their money in foreign bank accounts, which means our presidents are also committing treason. They're weakening the continent. They're making us weak and vulnerable, and that's what we need to change. America works because they have a plan called the New Century, the New American Century, for example. And in that plan, the people, the WEF, the World Bank, the IMF are all players. They are the hitmen. They are the strong arm men for carrying out this particular plan that is driven by banking families like the Rothschilds, for example. And those Rothschilds are the people who control the resources of the world through a pyramid of networks that are multinational companies. And if you do research on the multinational companies, you'll see they run the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, they run all these entities. And we haven't yet found a solution to building up towards that. That is why our presidents are buying membership in their clubs. Because in our minds, we haven't yet awoken to the fact that we have the power, we can develop the motherland, and we can create our own societies that are equal to them and stronger than them. If you look, for example, at the Illuminati signs, you'll see they use Egyptian signs. They use Egyptian esoteric knowledge, and they use our knowledge against us. And we have lost our knowledge, and we're not trying to find our knowledge. And if we look at, for example, our interpretation of the world, we need to change how we see the world. We cannot see the world from a resentment point of view, but we have to see the world from an aggressive, strategic point of view. And that's where our failing is. It's not that we are weak. It's not that we do not have the capacity. It's just that we're not mobilizing and we're not thinking strategically. And it's about time that we began to think strategically so that we can change the paradigm. It's like if you play a game, they always say, take control of the game. We have to take control of the game. For example, they have AFRICOM in Africa. When will we put AFRICOM in Europe? When will we put our AFRICOM in Europe, in America, in Britain? But they have the audacity to come to Africa and they put it here, their AFRICOM on our soil, and we allow it. It's because we feel weak, because they come with investment, and the investment is something that's a poison chalice and it's killing us. So we have to be thinking differently. We have to engage differently, and it's what they call a paradigm shift. This is part of the paradigm shift where we begin to talk to each other. We begin to stimulate thought within each other. We begin to see the world differently from the ordinary people who are fast asleep, because they are hypnotized. They're hypnotized by media. They're hypnotized by consumerism. They're hypnotized by materialism, to the point that someone will betray his nation to have a bigger car and have a bigger house and gold rings and gold and diamonds. But it doesn't work that way. We have to begin to develop and inculcate a value system that places our motherland over and above the materialistic dreams that we have. Until then, we will remain weak, but we must keep talking, because as we talk, we're educating. As we educate, we strengthen. As we strengthen, we move towards action. Every drop is the storm, and all of us here are the drops. So we mustn't be despondent in thinking that the world will not change. We can and will change the world as long as we march forward and we walk and talk. Not talk only or walk only, but walk and talk. That way we're thinking, because in my opinion, this mind of ours is the most dangerous weapon that we've got. And it's the weapon that we're going to beat these people with. But we have to be thinking. We have to use it. So that's my opinion. That's my view.
Ashe, yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Respect. You know, and as it said, you know, you got to reset. You got to reset the preset. You understand? And we haven't done that. And we can look at all our leaders and president in different locations, different in space and time, and then still get taken out. Because our biggest defense is in our thoughts. All our weaponry come from our thoughts. But if we sit in Africa looking on the weapon that the American and the British have, then we become weaponless. We become a set of people that have a lot of arsenal, but it have no use to us. You understand? The whole thing about it, the people that invade us and humiliate us, they are the one that we're looking for our weapons of defense. And one of the main things them do, they make sure that they disrupt your spirituality. They disrupt your source of true information. And what they give you, what you have now, is placebo. Because every time that you pray, many of these leaders were staunch Catholic. Many of them were staunch what they want to call themselves. But they were suffering from African deficiency. You know, we have to look at where we are, you know. You understand? We can look on from Mugabe, all of them. They were suffering from African deficiency because they look more to Rome. They look more to all of these places. And this is the biggest pause that we have as African people, when we cannot look on someone else to provide for us when we can provide for ourselves. You know, Sister Brenda.
Sorry. Yes, I agree with you, my brother, Dr. Abu. and the previous speakers. I agree with you on all levels. There's just one thing that I'm so concerned about. When I look at the people speaking, the level of understanding, the knowledge is just what Africa wants, what Africa needs. Like, these are the teachers that should teach Africans, that should wake them up. So the challenge we are having in this day is the youth are really not getting it. If we are to be honest, on this platform tonight, and this great discussion we are having and the knowledge we've gotten from the speakers, we do not have youth on board. We are not sure that our children and their children will take on the struggle. We are not sure about a generation that we shall depend on for the future, because we see these things, we know these things, we see them every day, but our children are being taught a different thing. They are being fed with different information. And that's the war. That's the war that's existing between us and those coming after us. And that's the very reason we have Africans killing Africans. That's the very reason the assassinations are successful, because there's always an African who is ready to be used against another African. So I think it's really, really important in this day that we devise means to make sure this message goes to the young, reaches the schools, reaches the communities, and gets understood. We still have a problem of language barrier, because we, like in my country, Uganda, there are very many languages. Like, if you really wanted to communicate, you really have to learn all of them. So I think it's still important that we have one language that we can speak, that we can communicate, and make sure when a message like this is spoken, all of us can understand it. So I would like to remind all of us about what happened in Libya. When they attacked Libya and killed President Muammar Gaddafi, there's a person who died, I think an official from America who was at the embassy, that died during the war. And if you all can recall, Americans were really, really pissed. They did not let go. I think up to this day, they were talking about their official who had died in the war. For most of us who have known how wars happen and what happens, we would call that collateral damage. But for America, one soul lost was like a million souls. Like, it's not acceptable. So that's a people that have raised their standards to say that you will not just kill our people like that. We won't lose our official who went to another country for duties that serve us, our interests. So Americans all stand up and say, how did he die? We want to know, and we want the people who were responsible to be responsible to explain what actually happened. But it's only in Africa where thousands and millions are butchered. The genocide goes on each and every day, and we wake up every day and go about our businesses like it's really nothing. So at this point, when we are asking the questions, how did we lose? How did we lose 88 African leaders? We should make sure this question is heard by everyone, including the young, including those in schools, including those doing research, including the leaders. Like, this is the time. Like I said before, we shouldn't have to worry about the conspiracy theories that we are always accused of. They call us conspiracy theories until they prove we are true. We are right with what we think, with what we are really talking about. So for me, what I think they are doing when they call us theorists, they are gaslighting us and brainwashing us and making sure they weaken our mental capacity to come around the realities of the society. So actually what we need to do in this day is we need to galvanize our efforts and be on our side of history and actually be firm on our posts and know that the war we are fighting is a war between two people. There's an enemy and there is us. So the only thing we can do is we have to keep fighting, defending our side. So it doesn't matter if anyone comes and says you are defending your side, but you're wrong, because that's what they always do. Keep on your side and keep fighting until we win. So I would also like to echo that here in Uganda, me and other team members of mine, we are propagating a youth education program where we are branding our education as the African-centered to make sure our youth can really know about things like this. We would imagine that all the programs that Sister Shanice has done are filled with great knowledge. There's great wisdom, but we need to make sure this wisdom and knowledge reaches the youth who never have a chance to be on a program like this. They do not have internet. They do not understand the language, but yet, if they had a chance to learn, they would be very useful in the struggle. So this is something I'm putting my attention, focus, and giving my all and energies. We are actually having a benefit concert to fundraise for that on the 27th of June. I think we will be telling all of these details later. And our goal is to make sure that we increase the number of Africans who think like us. If we would be 5 people here who have the right mindset, it wouldn't make such a big difference. It wouldn't, because we haven't really empowered others that should have more capacity, more talents, more skills to help us in this war. So I would like to thank everyone that's contributing in this evening's discussion. But I would also like to remind the people in the chat and those that are watching that the time is just right, that every one of us should be doing something to make sure we defend, protect ourselves, and focus on winning. Thank you so much.
Ashe. Over to you, Sister Shanice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm back. Oh, fantastic.
Oh, we lost Sister Shanice again, and Sister Brenda, well said, and we have to realize that the problem that we are in is not the fault of the young people, it's the fault of adults. As we said, we are in a situation, we are in a willing and able. Many young people are willing, but they are not able financially. And many of the adults, them who are able financially, they are not willing to even help their own people. Just like when Brother Russell elaborating on, you understand? A lot of us African, we become addicted to white privilege. You understand? It's Queen, my Queen, you want to say something?
I was agreeing with you, my brother. I was agreeing with you that a lot of us, the older ones, have become so addicted to white privilege. But I'm also going to say something else, that
family, if you can hear me, I keep in and out. Please do come. Please do continue.
Continue, Queen.
Okay, so we must understand that when we were growing up, there was a certain way that we were raised. And I can say that we did not know any better, because when slavery was there and when colonialism was there, there was so much which was going on. So we were raised in a certain way. And now that we are getting back and we are waking up, it is the responsibility of we, the adults, like you said, to wake up and start talking to the youth. It is our responsibility. We cannot keep taking these capitalism and consuming. This is what is killing us. And it is also killing our youth. And in the same regard, we also have to look to our youth, because most movements are not led by old people. They're led by the young. So Brenda is very right in that. And when she calls and says that many youth are maybe willing but are not able, this is now where we come in as the older generation.
Sure.
And this is the call which I'm saying. You see, Sister Shanice has this platform. This is helping because it is reaching however many people it will reach today, however many people that this show will reach tomorrow and the next day. So this is a platform, and she's bringing in youth. So like Brenda, so she is playing her part. We also need to understand that we need to play our part and start bringing in the youth and giving them platforms and means to understand what is going on. And that is why I said the list, Sister Shanice will share it. Each of us, this is our responsibility. We have to wake up now. No more sleeping. Have to wake up and look at our individual countries and look at those who have been assassinated and begin to draw the outline of the story and to see what they need to do to stop this continual assassination. So there's no more excuses now. The list is out. Can you go and look at who in your country has died and why? Start asking questions.
I'll share my sister. Sister Shanice.
Can I remark?
Because my reception, please continue.
Okay.
All right. Go on, Sister Brenda, you want to say something?
Yeah. So I have 6 years experience interacting, meeting, and working with the youth. The truth of the matter is, we really think, as every one of us is agreeing, we really think the youth would be willing to do this. They would be willing to fight, to help us fight. That could be partly true. But the biggest challenge we are having is the youth do not know about what we know. They are so blind. They have been brainwashed for a very long time that what you look at, you're looking at their physical bodies, but their mind is really, really possessed by their teacher, by who actually raised them. The schooling system, which provides zero education, or we call it miseducation. And when you sit and speak to these youth in depth, you realize that it's not what you think. Just yesterday, I had a discussion with some youth, male youth, And we were talking, there is a practice in Uganda where people do parties prior to the bigger parties, like before a wedding, before a birthday, before an introduction, and before a graduation. So they have a mini party before those big parties. They cut cake, they drink champagne, they spend a lot of money. And these are the same youth who complain every day about we don't have jobs, poverty, we can't sustain businesses, we can't be enterprising. I mean, every time we are looking up to the government and we need help. The same youth who are doing that are the same who are complaining. So when I was speaking with them, I asked them, I said, what if we channeled all this money we use for these mini parties and we started businesses and we invested in farming and we invested in education? They all told me that they were not born to be sad. They were not born to care about the problems of the society, and the only thing they want is to be happy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 male youth told me the same thing. So when you look at it, like, this is the challenge. We believe we are at war, but you cannot be at war and want to jubilate at the same time. Like, you want to be drinking and getting, like, you want to lose the sense of the reality of things. Like, there's no war, there are no guns, there are no major problems. Let's just marry and be happy. That's what the youth say. So the only reason why they would say that is they don't see the magnitude, the velocity of the war we are talking about. So I really want to thank Sister Nadia for that list that she compiled. It's unbelievable. Like, if everyone would look at it, you won't believe it. If you're in Uganda, you know about the Ugandans and the Kenyan president and the Tanzanian president who died. You don't know about all these names. So if this message, like she put on paper with all that list, would be circulated and taken to all these youth, and they read it and they internalize, they would understand and know, like, I think what they are talking about makes sense somehow. So it is still a problem. It is still a very big problem that the youth, you think you are going to call them and say, this is the way, let's go, and you think they will follow you. They will listen to you, but there's another person who is calling them. So it's important even how you design the message, how you call them. It has to be persuasive. Like, you have to show them the truth in a way that will be acceptable, because they have been long gone. They have been raised by another person, and their mind is totally different from what you think. Thank you so much.
I share to that, you know. Brother Rasul, you want to make him come with that?
I think it's an important question that is being raised, is why is the youth the way it is? You know, we have to do analysis of how did the youth get to where they are. And for me, it's always about media. And it's not media at the smallest level, it's media at the highest level that we need to get into. Most of us are products of the media. For example, Hollywood has made us what we are. You know, all the soapies that we make and watch are making us who we are. All the values that we see in media informs the values that we have. For example, you're not anybody until you own a certain car. You are nobody until you wear a certain pair of jeans. You're nobody until you wear some form of sneaker or sweatshirt or tracksuit or bag or shoe. So that has replaced in us, instead of us having confidence in who we are, confidence in our continent, confidence in the future, what we've done, we've now taken these artificial things and put them in our minds and said, this is who we are. But nothing makes you who you are. Who you are is something that is inside of you, the kind of values that you have. Now, when you're speaking, Sister Brenda, I was just listening and I'm saying that we are all products of media. We are products of a strategy, what they call multi-spectrum dominance. Multi-spectrum dominance means your enemy controls you financially, he controls you from a mental point of view, he controls you economically, he controls you socially, and he even controls your food. Now we have to find the kinds of responses to this. If we say media, we need, for example, an Africa-wide media, because you and I can reach out to 100, 200 or 300 people, but every country has 1 million people. How do we reach out to that 1 million or 2 million or 3 million or 40 million people? The only way you can do that is mass media. Mass media means you've got to compete with the current radio media stations, TV, radio, etc. Or you've got to come with an alternative media. Now, we haven't gotten to that point yet. And yet, for me, there are 3 key principles that I look at. The one principle is innovation. We've got to be very innovative because the 4th industrial revolution is coming and we need to prepare for it. The next thing is investment. Those in Africa and in the diaspora should be investing in Africa instead of us running to the World Economic Forum. The third thing is development. We should industrialize. We shouldn't be having the cobalt taken out of DRC for cell phones and computers. We should be manufacturing cell phones and computers right there and supplying to the world, which means we have to have a paradigm shift. And the paradigm shift means that our governments have to think differently. So we have 2 battles. We have an external battle and we have an internal battle. And we have to fight them both at the same time because they're parallel processes. They're not one process. The other aspect is that, remember, we are fighting against a system that has been at our throats for a couple of 100 years. We're not going to solve it in a day, just as you can't build a house in a day. You need to have a plan. Then you've got to dig the trenches. Then you have to put the foundation. Then you have to put bricks by brick. Then you have the wall. Our youth, we must not just play with the youth, but we must look at ourselves and say, are we speaking the right language to our youth? Are we marketing the struggle to the youth? Are we bringing forth the same values that we should have to the youth? The youth are leaders. The youth are the ones that will liberate everyone. But our job is to motivate them. Our job is to educate them. Our job is to lead them or point them or guide them to where the revolution is. That's our job. We mustn't colonize the spaces and say, I am the leader because you younger than me, you cannot tell me what I'm to do and I will tell you what to do. We have to come to terms with the fact that good leaders create leaders. They don't hang on to the leadership space. They create new leaders. And we need to be creating new leaders by creating leadership schools, for example, by taking charge of the curriculum in the current schools, by ensuring that after the schools have closed, we still have activities that reinforce the sense of well-being in our youth. We've got a lot of work to do, and we've got to be strategic. And this is one of the first things that means we network. We mustn't come here and have our 1 hour or 2 hours of fame, and then we disappear, never to be seen again. We must, from here, say, what is the plan? And start implementing the plan. Because if we don't have a plan, others will plan for us, and their plan will not be our plan, it will be their plan. That's my view.
Give thanks. Give thanks. Give thanks for that. You know? Queen Naja, you wanna put your input?
Can everyone put their phone on mute? I'm hearing a lot of feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There was a question which was asked, Sister Shanice. The question was, they have agents in our countries. And another question which was asked was something about, we must look at those popping champagne. Why are we buying from them? And I want to comment on those two. Yes, they have agents in our countries. Of course they do. This is their plan. And I'll go back to WEF, and I'll go back to, with respect, my brother. You see, when you want to colonize a place, let us start with, like, for example, a bee. Bees. How do bees colonize? They first send a scout.
Yep.
And the scout goes back. And then they send a few more scouts. And then they go back to the main colony. And then they send a few more scouts to go to wherever it was that they want to colonize. And they get it ready. They get it ready. And then now the other bees come with the queen bee, and then they settle. This is how it works. So in this instance, what has happened is that, first of all, they've taken out all these leaders. And they're taking them out in particular sections, you know. Brother Rasul, you're speaking about our media. Who is controlling our media? It's those agents. You're talking about our education. Who's controlling our education? It's those agents. You're talking about our consumption and what we eat. Who's controlling what we're eating? It's those agents. How do we get GMOs in our country? How do we get GMO seeds in our country? How do we get certain curriculums into our countries? It's those agents. Because they have a plan. Nobody just woke up and decided, oh, this is what we're going to teach our children. No. It is a plan. And they set the plan in action. And they put their agents in place. Even wherever you go to the banking system. You go to the hospital system. How is it now that we have this pandemic? How is it that there are certain, those drugs which are in our country, those vaccines? How are they in our countries? It's those same agents. It is those people who are popping champagne. They're popping champagne. It's those agents. So you can talk whatever you want to talk about, but if the agents are in place to shift the goals, then you can talk forever. So you have to look at the patterns and start with removing the agents. Because if you don't remove them, they are well paid. Let me tell you, WEF, it pays well. They're well paid. And they are going to push their agenda. And what is their agenda again? So we need to look at these agents. We need to look at them and recognize who are these people. Because how did our presidents die? They didn't just die magically. So look at those around them. Look at people in key positions. Look at what is happening within our systems, each and every system, whether it's transport, whether it's what we're importing, whether it's somebody has been given a contract to do something. Like, for example, I heard that there are contracts right now in Ghana where there are Chinese who are being allowed to, no, it wasn't Chinese, Indians, who are being allowed to start a steel industry. And yet there are Africans, Ghanaians in that country who can do the same business. So we have to start looking and identifying who the agents are, who the gatekeepers are. That's what we have to do, because they have always been agents. These are the ones who they're popping champagne. I don't know who put up that post. Thank you so much for it. That comment. Thank you so much for it. But yes, we have to start looking at those people who are popping champagne and ask, why are they popping champagne? And these are the ones who are taking control of our entire system. And that's why our youth are so blinded, because a lot of the food that they eat is not good for them. It's GMO food. You ask simple things like, why are we drinking Coca-Cola? We all know Coca-Cola is bad for us. And yet we have kids who are drinking Coca-Cola. Why? An agent somewhere allowed Coca-Cola to come into the country and sell Coca-Cola to your people. This is how it works. I give thanks.
Ashe, my sister, you know. Many way they use agent amongst us, you know. In many African countries, they're going through Ramadan, yeah? And before Ramadan, you get a lot of forgiveness letter. Forgive me for what I have done. I can bet somebody send one of that to all some of them people where they murder. These are the things that we are hiding behind. You understand? You know, forgive me if I caused you any pain. And tomorrow we're doing the same pain. You know, we should not be saying these words at the start of Ramadan. It should be every day. And I'm saying that the behavior of when I look at it, you know, these three religion main star is Abraham. And we all killing one another through these things by the hands of the agent them that's be. Yeah, because we lost our mind, we lost our thoughts. You understand? And I'm saying that the youth, if the youth see adult in motion, they will follow. But many of the adults are behaving like they are youth. You understand? I've seen my biggest problem is to talk to my peer group. You know, I have no problem talking to young people. Young people is so enthusiastic, they're very adventurous, but a lot of our adults is suffering from white privilege addiction. And I go back to the mission statement. I am a jealous God. And a lot of them swallow that medicine and they want to live like European. They want to speak like European. They want to even marry to European. And they will do everything to live in that pattern. And this is the most deadliest thing that we're facing and we don't want to agree to it. You understand? So I'm saying that let's not blame one another. Look at the cause. We have to look at the cause. Because sometimes we try to get a solution from the symptoms. And it doesn't work that way. You understand? Sister Shanice. Sister Shanice still frees on us. So we go back to Sister Brenda. Your mic, Sister Brenda.
Oh, sorry. So we are speaking, we are really talking about very important things.
Yeah,
and the other point I would like to raise is about the politics of the continent. So they always sell to us the illusion of what they term as freedom. So when they come over here, before they start killing our leaders, before they start killing our presidents, in most cases, they will try to show us that we are not free, that these people you see here are not free to speak, they are not free to express themselves, they need freedom. So they incite the people to rise up and to kill their leaders. So this again takes me back to Libya. So when you read about what was happening to Libya, in Libya before the attack, the life was good. Like, I think the life was really making the enemy envious. Like, they don't expect this to be happening on the African continent. So all they do is they come up with all kinds of excuses to support the rebels, because as you can see how the divide and conquer works, they will rise up tomorrow and say, we are not the ones who did this. We are not the ones who caused the war. It was the rebels. There was a group that was oppressed. So the question that I'm taking to the Africans who always whine about freedom and human rights, the question is, how exactly do we define freedom when a people lack basic needs, food, medicine, education, and they have all the freedom to speak? Are they free? When a people have food, medicine, education, housing, and they do not have the freedom to speak, are they free or they are not? So that's the question I'm posing to everyone who is on tonight's show. Like, what freedom do we need? Do we need the freedom to shout on social media, to insult those we don't agree with? Or do we need the basic needs of life? We need to be able to have a land we call our own. We need to be able to have food that is safe for our bodies, for our health. We need to be able to have an education system in which we have a say. We need to be teaching our children the things that really matter, the real history that speaks good of us, that tells the real truth of who we are and where we have been, so that it can help us to shape the future. So the illusion of freedom in Africa is very, very much influencing the wars, the genocide, and the killings that are happening and targeting the leaders mostly. Thank you so much.
Yeah, give thanks, my sis. Well said, well said. As I said, some people interpret freedom as white privilege. You know, Brother Russell.
I think when we talk about freedom, we walk down a very narrow road about what constitutes freedom. When we look at freedom, there are freedoms that come in intangibles, in a sense that you are free to associate with whomsoever you want to associate. You are free to practice whatever religious beliefs you practice. You are free to do whatever you choose without your government oppressing you. Because in many instances, when we talk about agents, Sister Najjar was talking about agents. In many instances, if you look at, for example, the works of Frantz Fanon, you look at the works of Kwame Nkrumah, you will see they talk about colonialism. Neo-colonialism is where the colonial forces never went. What they did, they left our governments as managers for them. With the end result, the people that oppress us look like us. And we buy into them because they have the same skin color and hair texture as us, and therefore we accept their oppression.
Yes.
Freedom means to live without oppression, where no one puts a chain around your neck and tells you what to do. I agree that we need to be participatory. Now, when we say participatory, it means I was doing a course now, I just finished one module in terms of human rights, indigenous rights, for example. And the one thing they talk about is self-determination. They talk about us as sovereign human beings who have the right to ensure that we live our lives according to the way we want, not the way that someone else wants. And this is one of our biggest problems that we find, is that everyone is defining everything for us. We haven't sat down and said, this is what constitutes my land rights. This is what constitutes my water rights. This is what constitutes biodiversity. This is what constitutes a country without a strong police force that's policing me. This is what constitutes a country without an army that's turning its guns on me. Right now, we're getting vaccinated. And who's vaccinating us? It's our own government. It's not a some white guy from Europe that's coming and injecting us. It's our own government who are telling us in their own words, I'm killing you to protect you from death. Now, this is the kind of irony, the stupidity that is being preached to us, and we accepting this, because you'll find many of Africans, for example, are marching to stations to get injected. Now, they've convinced us because they've stolen our minds, and they've gotten us to think exactly the way that they want us to think. Now, in some countries, if you raise your voice, even on Facebook, social media, if you say there's no COVID-19, there's no virus, believe me, they shut you down, they close you out, and they say you're a conspiracy theorist. Why? Because you're asking uncomfortable questions. But the question for us is, what do we do? Because we all know the problems. Believe me, you go to every show, you go to every African, and he'll tell you exactly what the problems are with Africa. My question is, where is our plan? What are we going to do about it? When are we going to do it? Who's going to do it? And what do we need to do it? Those are the fundamental questions that we are not answering. It's easy to find the fault. Believe me, there's a long list of faults. Like right now, we're saying our presidents are being killed. Okay, they're being killed. What are you going to do about it? You know, now we found, for example, Thomas Sankara was murdered, and Blaze was discovered to be the cause. We knew this, but who decided to investigate? Who decided to prosecute? Why haven't we got a court, a criminal court in Africa attached to the AU? Why aren't we charging our governments for treason? Why aren't we, the people, demanding that there are investigation units? If there is, for example, someone fomenting violence, we want that person before an African court, and they should be dealt with appropriately. These are the things that we need to do. These are the things that we need to teach our youth, that they're not without agency. They have power. The energy that they spend going to the nightclub is the same energy they could spend building the continent. So we must look at ourselves as well and say, are we teaching them the right thing? Are we using the right message? Are we using the right tools? Because sometimes if you're in marketing, they say, if your client is not listening to you, look at your methodology of approaching your client. Are you speaking with his values? And if you look at marketing, for example, right now, they're using DNA to get sales, to design marketing strategy. When are we going to design a marketing strategy? When are we going to take a revolution and present the revolution in a very romantic way to our youth. The Americans, for example, colonized us culturally. They told us everything that we know about Pearl Harbor and the Second World War and Vietnam. When are we going to tell them our story with our film? You know, we've got to change the paradigm here. We've got to change. For example, they come and do regime change in Africa. When are we going to do regime change in Europe? When are we going to do regime change in America? Those are the kind of questions that we should be asking ourselves, because we're not powerless, we're not dummies, we're not puppets that others can always control us. No, it's time for us to stand up and think for ourselves and design our own plans and execute those plans. If we don't do that, we'll be slaves forever. That's my view.
Give thanks, Brother Rasul. You know, my queen, you want to come forward? Queen Najah?
Yes, thank you so much. That is true. We have to do a lot of work, and we have to wake up, basically, and it's across the generations. It's not just the young, it's also the old. We need to really wake up, and that is why I give thanks to Sister Shanice for this platform, because she's playing her part, and all of us here on the panel as well, we are also playing our part, because we're educating and we're teaching and we are speaking. I have learned so much in this past hour just by listening to the four of you. So I give thanks for this panel.
Yeah, man, give thanks. Give thanks. As they said, responsibility is not the duty of few, but the duty of many. You know, and that is what we have to look on. You know, we are the now generation, and we have young and old amongst us. That's why I call it the now generation, not the old or the now. And this is how we have to look on it and said, without the young and the old, we can't work to move where we want to move. You understand? But the strength that is out there, our secret weapon is in the youths. You know, and a lot of us adults, we were youth ourselves, but some of us lost our youthful memory. You understand? Our youthful memory have been lost in more position than purpose. You know, and sometimes it's not only that. Sometimes we just hate the youth for their youthfulness. Bad mind. We pass where we are go, and we just hate the youth. And this is a European behavior.
Yeah.
It's a European behavior that we take on, and you see that come from addiction. You know, if you're an addict and you want to get over your addiction, you have to admit that you're an addict. You understand? But we live in a state of denial, and we blame that one and we blame that one, but we don't really deal with the problem itself. You know, Sister Brenda.
Thank you once again. So when you see a country that has lost all the infrastructure, the buildings are on the ground, the people died, the people who are left are also trying to escape and actually dying on the sea, thinking they're going to get a better life out there. There's no food. Like, that's a country that at one point was crying that they needed freedom. And when they decided to search for that freedom, they got that. Their nation is no more. When you look there, when you try to see what's happening there, like you see You don't imagine that 10 years ago, this was a country that was dignified and rich and respected. Because we are failing to know, to prioritize. We are failing to be intelligent and wise, and to know that much as we need too much freedom, let's say political freedom, but we should know that economic freedom comes first. A people that's hungry, a people without income, even if they have political freedom, they are going to be unhappy. So my thinking is, right here in my country, the experience I have shows me that a people who are downtrodden, who are economically weak, a people who are hungry, who go to bed, a people who have no roof on their heads, cannot really make any sense politically. They are too poor to make the right judgments. Their mind is clouded with all the problems they have, all the challenges they have. To uplift these people and put them into a position where they are able to speak sense, they are able to make the judgments that are not biased, prejudiced, or corrupted, they must first get economic freedom. And that's what I think is very, very important in this age, where we are faced with threats of the fourth industrial revolution, the reset and everything. Our people can only survive that if we tackle the economic freedom that we do not have in this time. Thank you.
That's so right, Empress. Give thanks to that. Sister Shanice?
Thank you so much, Dr. Abu, for being the host tonight. My internet has just been the most struggle to get in without luck. Now, I'm supposed to be starting another live stream, and on this live stream, we're going to home in on mission that's happening in Shad. I've actually got a special guest who's going to be talking about that, and I welcome my panel members who are in this to join us in that important discussion with a correspondent who has been looking at
it seemed like Sister Shanice. Go on.
Hopefully, I am told that if you're not too tired, please do join me now on the other live stream. Queen Najal, Brenda, if you can join us for
Yeah, it seemed like Sister Shanice freeze there, We
Wow.
know the system work, but as I said,
thank you. Patience. Dr. Abu, thank you. Everybody, thank you so much. So and to the person who sent 5, I'm going to put that.
Thank you so much.
like Sister Shanice freeze there, we give thanks for all the contribution, you understand, because it's not one talk I go solve this, but it's how we connect with people, and how we have to be truthful with one another. That's one of the things that we have to do. We have to be truthful, we'll be honest with one another. You understand, And we can't just say that it's the mother or the father. It's us. It's take a village to raise the child. Yeah,
Yes.
and we have to and we have to realize that a child of the village is from the womb to the tomb.
Yes.
You understand? You know, we have to get back on our own narrative. We've been running with these people narrative for a long time, and it's full time. We start to look at our values, you know, our principle, our discipline, because within those two words, principle and discipline, is IP, IP. IP is power. And without principle and discipline, we are a people who are powerless. You understand? Because we become discipline of others, and we take up other people's values and all of these things, and then we leave empty. And this is what we are moving towards. So your contribution, and Sister Brenda, and the Queen, and brother, you know, this is nation building, and we have to move towards this. You know, see it. You know, brother, and brother Rasul, make some conclusion before we depart.
In conclusion.